Good evening, everyone. It's Thursday, June 25th, 2026. It is 5:30 p.m., and I will now call the Salem Area Mass Transit District Board of Directors meeting to order. Will the clerk of the board please note attendance of a quorum? And that moves us into our safety minute. General Manager?
I'll ask our Chief Operations Officer, Tom Dietz, to present the safety message.
Thank you, President Cherriots, members of the board. June is National Safety Month for at least the next few days. But we're going to talk about mental safety. So prioritizing your mental health safety involves creating immediate crisis boundaries, tracking early warning signs, and maintaining core physiological habits. Protecting your emotional well-being requires proactive planning similar to physical safety measures. Some of those might include crisis safety planning, so build a safety plan, identify any triggers that can present anxiety or distress, secure your environment, so remove potentially harmful items from your immediate living space during low periods, designate a safe person, choose a specific friend or family member that knows your history and can advocate for you. Try grounding and real-time de-escalation techniques like 3-3-3 rule, which is name 3 things you can see, 3 sounds you can hear, and move 3 body parts to stop anxiety spiral. Use box breathing, where you inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and hold for 4 more to lower your heart rate. Unplug digitally, create a calm space, and then look at foundational wellness habits like protecting your sleep, limit depressants like alcohol or any substance abuse. Keep moving, so dedicate 30 minutes a day to physical activity that you enjoy, like walking, yoga, dancing. Eating mindfully to fuel your brain with regular nutrient-dense meals to prevent blood sugar drops that mimic panic attacks. Professional support boundaries, set clear boundaries, say no to extra responsibilities when your emotional bandwidth is low. Try therapy services and leverage workplace EAPs, and you can check with your employer that offers a confidential employee assistance program for free counseling sessions. And of course, if you or someone you know is in immediate distress, please connect with the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by calling or texting 988. It is free, confidential, and available 24/7. That concludes my safety minute.
Thank you very much. I don't believe we have any announcements or changes to the agenda, so then we'll move right into executive session. Will the clerk of the board please read the ORS?
Thank you, President Cherriots. The Salem Area Mass Transit District Board of Directors will meet in executive session under ORS 192660 subsection 2E to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions, and ORS 192660 subsection 2A to consider the employment of a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent. Only the Board of Directors, designated staff, and news media representatives will be permitted to attend the executive session in accordance with ORS 192660 subsection 4. News media representatives, staff, and board members are respectfully directed not to report on any of the discussions that occurred during the session, except to state the general subject as previously announced. Any materials distributed will be collected at the end of the session, and no final action or decision will be taken in executive session.
Thank you very much. We'll move into the other space, and so we'll head over there. And for folks watching online, I know Japan's playing right now.
I'm sure that it's a pretty...
Okay. Welcome back, everyone. It's 5:53, and we'll now reconvene. And this will bring us straight into our budget hearing. So I will now open the public hearing on our budget. I think I'll gavel that one in too. And now we will open it up for public comment. This is time designated for members of the public to testify before the board on the approved budget as shown in LB1 or programs within the budget. And we've got some folks ready and teed up. Go ahead.
Good evening,
Oh,
Madam
hold on.
President and members of the board.
Hold on, Tim.
Oh.
We'll let Nick go first.
Oh, well, I
Then
was
we-
gonna
then we'll
introduce
close.
the-
We're gonna introduce. I'm Nick Forty, the budget chair, and
Tim Reedy, Financial Services Manager.
so thank you very much. Let me start out. President Enos Pressey and members of the board, I'm pleased to present to you this evening the Budget Committee's recommendation to adopt the FY 2027 budget for the Salem Area Mass Transit District. The committee met, as you know, on May 5th, 2026 to review the proposed budget. I want to thank you, General Manager Alan Pollock and district staff for all their hard work in preparing and reviewing the proposed budget with us. The committee voted unanimously to approve the proposed budget for fiscal year 2027 in the amount of $144,242,844 and taxes at the rate of 0.7609 per $1,000 of assessed value for operating purposes in the general fund. The budget has appropriated funds of $107,018,731 and an unappropriated total of $37,224,113. The FY 2027 approved budget focuses on maintaining and strengthening existing service while advancing key capital and operational priorities. A major focus is completing the comprehensive operations analysis, which will evaluate service performance, identify opportunities to improve efficiency, and assess unmet needs to inform future service decisions. In addition, the budget supports several key projects, including land acquisition, design, and construction of the South Salem Transit Center, site selection for the East Salem Transit Center, and deployment of battery electric buses, fare system and paratransit vehicle replacements, security and facility upgrades, and continued planning efforts to support future mobility options and long-term financial sustainability. The district is moving forward on a strong financial basis and will be able to continue to provide world-class customer service in the coming years. We all appreciate your commitment and hard work. Thank you for providing us the opportunity to be part of the budget process.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So,
Hold on,
good evening,
hold on,
Madam.
Tim.
Sorry.
No, we got to close the public hearing.
Okay,
Then
and that will close our
Well,
public hearing.
make sure there's no other public comment.
No public comments for the budget. I always feel like a auctioneer in this moment. Okay, now we will close our public hearing.
Now I'm good, okay. Good evening, Madam President and members of the board. We are here to request adoption of Resolution 2026-09 for the fiscal year 2026-27 budget, making appropriations and imposing taxes and categorizing taxes. In accordance with Oregon State budget law, the Budget Committee reviewed and approved the fiscal year 2026-27 budget on May 5th, 2026, for a total approved budget of $144,242,844. We do need to note that following the publication, staff discovered a typographical error in the general fund summary on page 79. The corrected copy is included in the board packet. Because the total overall net financial impact of these line item corrections is $0, these internal adjustments do not alter the district-wide summary and do not require a rescheduled public hearing. The Budget Committee approved the proposed budget for 2026-27 in the amount of $144,242,844 and the tax rate of 0.7609 per thousand of assessed value, the permanent rate set by Measure 50. Resolution number 2026-09 also imposes and categorizes taxes in accordance with Oregon budget law requirements. Staff and the Budget Committee recommend the board adopt resolution number 2026-09, thereby adopting the fiscal year 2026-27 budget, reflecting the corrected version of page 79 and imposing and categorizing the property taxes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Any comments? Yes, Director Davidson.
I just want to express my gratitude to all the Cherriots staff who had a hand in developing and vetting the budget. It's a whole lot of work, and thank you very much for doing an excellent job.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, well, I will move that the board adopt resolution number 2026-09 to adopt the fiscal year 2026-2027 budget, reflecting the corrected version on page 79, making appropriations and imposing and categorizing taxes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? None? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay. No presentations. Now this is the public comment portion of our regular meeting. As a reminder, this is time designated for members of the public to testify before the board on items relating to the district. Do we have any public comment? Any members of the, nope, not even online. See, I guess they all switched over to watch Japan. Okay, that moves us to our consent calendar. Is there any items on the consent calendar that any director wished to pull?
Madam President, I do not wish to pull any item, but I do need to declare a potential conflict of interest on one of the items on the consent calendar. On item, if I may,
Go ahead.
on item B4 of the consent calendar, the approval of the United Way donation. My wife is an attorney. She has her own law firm. In the past, is my understanding, she has done some work for the United Way of the Mid-Willamette Valley. So there is a potential conflict of interest. She's, I do not know the details of her work. I can't, because that's privileged, but she's assured me that there's really nothing to do with this at all, but in just an abundance of caution, I'm doing the potential conflict of interest.
I prefer abundance of caution than finding out later that we did something incorrectly.
I would love to pull item B4, that same item.
Okay. All right, so we will pull item B4. Is any other items? If not, I will take a motion to approve the consent calendar excluding item B4.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay. Motion passes unanimously for the consent calendar excluding item B4, and now we will discuss item B4, approval of the fiscal year 2027 United Way donation.
Instead of having staff like do a full report, I just want to maybe discuss amongst the board something.
Okay, well, before that, General Manager, is there anything you'd like to say on this item?
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
I'd be happy to provide any details, but it sounds like you have a specific comment you want to make.
Okay, go ahead, Director Davidson.
It's a wonderful program, no qualms about the program. My only question is, or it's not even a question, just one thing I'd like to raise to my colleagues is the possibility of increasing the number of fares that we allocate to United Way. If you look at their, the addendum to their report or their letter to us, their requests far exceed whatever our annual disbursement is. Now, perhaps we don't need to meet the identified need, but I do think that there is an opportunity for us to increase from the 7,500, which I believe has been kind of our standard over the years. I could be wrong on that, but wanted to raise that as a possibility. Would of course be a financial loss as a result of that. Well, perhaps, I guess I don't know counterfactuals. But wanted to raise that as perhaps a discussion item.
Okay,
I can fill in some.
go ahead, General Manager.
So just to amplify your request, so the initial allocation was for 4,000 passes, day passes, and what we donate are day passes only. In 2016, the board took action to increase that to 5,000 passes, and in 2023, you took action to increase it to 7,500.
Okay, so just for clarity, currently we are providing 7,500 passes to the United Way to disperse to these other nonprofit organizations.
That is correct.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Yes, Director Duncan.
First of all, I support Ian's request for additional passes. I think that I mean, we obviously have not seen a financial impact statement, but I would assume it would be rather minimal considering that these would be going to people who would struggle to afford the bus as is, meaning they would not otherwise be riding it. Therefore, it would probably have very little impact on us. It's not like we're going to increase service so people can take the bus. So I think I see no reason why we wouldn't be able to increase. I'd love to see as many as 10,000. Just putting that out there. Additionally, I love the United Way. I have no issues with the United Way. However, I would love to see this program come in-house. I think I've said this every year for the last 3 years now. However, as we are in the middle of a transfer with our general manager retiring. I don't think now is the time to push for that change. We've already got a lot of things going on. But I do want to state for the record that between now and next year, before this comes to us, I don't want to see it on the consent calendar. I would like to have an actual discussion about whether or not this should be an in-house program or something that we continue to have facilitated outside of Cherriots. I regularly have people asking me how they can get these passes because they don't realize that United Way facilitates it for us. I don't know if that's a communications issue or just why that problem is, but yeah, I would love to have a discussion about bringing that service back in-house, not out of any dislike for the United Way, just simply because I don't understand the benefit of putting it outside of Cherriots. I think it makes a lot of sense to have people come here when they need passes, but I'm totally in favor of increasing, and I just wanted to state that for next year so that we can have that discussion in the proper timeline. Thank you.
I just want to be clear for the record. So what this is not that individual people are coming to United Way, but rather the different nonprofit organizations that provide services are addressing to the United Way to ask for a certain number of bus passes, correct?
That's correct. So United Way has a series of, I believe the number is 23, I might get wrong. And they call them member agencies, and the member agencies submit applications, and it's kind of like a grant process. They submit applications to the United Way. United Way then looks at all the requests and determines the distribution levels. And one of the requirements is, and you see it in the report, generally kind of trip purpose. It's designed for people who maybe need to get to appointments or the first couple weeks of employment till they get their first paycheck. So back when this was first started, it was determined to do this process, because I do believe it used to be in-house, but we wanted to turn it over to what I'll call the subject matter experts who can determine the true need. And they have different programs. So it's clearly, it's not for member agencies, employees, it's for their clients who have transportation needs.
And I mean, I don't expect you to know this off the top of your head, but is this program only accessible to those like partner agencies for the United Way?
That is correct.
Okay,
May I ask?
go ahead, Director Duncan.
Is there a separate program for organizations that are not part of the United Way to be able to get passes?
We do have a separate program. So for qualified nonprofits, we have a discount purchase program. So it's basically the same program, but they're able to get a 25% discount on passes. And we have several entities.
Could we revisit this whole conversation between now and before next year? I don't want to make any changes now, but clearly this would be a great work session item. There's clearly a deficit of knowledge amongst the members of the board. And I would just, it seems like maybe this has developed organically over time, maybe not originally like I'd like to review the whole program. I think that'd be great at some point during the next year. That's all. I'm not necessarily saying that I'm committing to pushing for changes. I would like to have a better understanding of the whys, the hows, and how this is going out, because I'm asked about this regularly and I don't have a good answer, and I'd like to have a better understanding. So that'd be great.
Okay, so yes, go ahead, Director Navarro.
Thank you, President Hinojosa Pressy. I believe that, to Director Duncan's comment, I believe that the program that we have now has kind of like evolved over the years, because initially I think that organizations came to Cherriots individually and got those passes, and then if I'm correct, we ended up going with United Way as kind of consolidating where everybody could go to apply for that. And I think it's worked out fairly well. You do have to apply to be a partner with United Way in order to qualify to receive those passes. So that can be a hurdle for some organizations. But I think like the biggest concern here is that people need transportation. They need access to public transportation. They need to get to work. They need to get to their doctor's appointments. I see in the community groups and Facebook and at community events that people are looking for gas, they're looking for tires, they're looking for donated vehicle parts because they're having trouble keeping employment and affording gas to be able to get around. And really what the answer to that is, I mean, yes, a Band-Aid would be to give them a gas card and help them get to work, but having access to consistent public transportation is what's going to help them out in the long run. So I agree with Director Duncan. I think that I would love to see this as a work session item that we can kind of talk about and figure out if working with United Way is keeping it consolidated is the answer, or if maybe just increasing the amount of day passes that we're distributing could potentially solve this.
Director Carney?
Thank you, President Hinojosa-Pressy. One thing that would be of interest to me is just understanding if there are any barriers to application within the organizations that can participate in the United Way distribution process, whatever they might be, if it's you need to serve a certain type of client, you need to not serve a different type of client. I would be interested in knowing if there are any barriers to access that might take that shape and be located in that space.
I could potentially answer that.
Director Navarro?
And I, just speaking from my own experience in working with nonprofits and applying for that program, generally any nonprofit 501c3 recognized organization can apply, but then the 501c3 status is a barrier for some of these organizations. Individual programs within an agency can't apply themselves. They have to go through the agency, and so that can be another barrier. So there are still some hurdles that organizations and people have to go through to get those, because there is a chain of command. So yeah, I don't know if there's a way to streamline that.
Okay, so I think what I hear is the will of the board to direct staff to establish a work session for a comprehensive overview and understanding of this program of the bus pass distribution through the United Way, and a discussion on maybe a different operating model. And so that's something that we can put on. Yeah, Director Davidson?
Thank you. Could we loop this or have as part of this discussion a revisiting of our group pass program? Because I think they're two birds of a feather. We have talked in the past about updating our group pass program to better accommodate nonprofits, and I think that this would be one of the vehicles to do that. And it's something that we have talked about in the past and haven't revisited for quite some time.
Okay, General Manager? Sounds good. So if folks are comfortable with that, I think that covers that piece. My question is on the potential for increasing the bus passes right now. Is this a one-time thing or for the rest of this program, or is that something that we want to discuss at that work session? And Director Davidson, since you brought it up.
I can make a motion.
Go ahead.
I move that the board approve an annual allocation of 8,500 day passes to the United Way of Mid-Willamette Valley for fiscal year 2027.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Yes, Director Holmstrom.
Just want to reiterate what I said earlier at the consent calendar, that this is the item that I have the potential conflict of interest. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. So now this will bring us to our action items. General Manager, Statewide Transportation Improvement Fund Advisory Committee.
Thank you. So I'll ask the chair of the STIF Advisory Committee, Chair Byers, and Chief Azum to please come forward.
Good evening. I'm Marge Byers. I am the current chair of the STIFIC committee. Madam Chair and board members, I am here to present the issue, shall the board adopt resolution number 2026-11 approving the funding for the FTA fiscal year 2026 section 5310. The district serves as a designated recipient for the FTA section 5310 funds for Salem-Keizer urbanized area. The purpose of the Section 5310 grant program is to enhance the mobility of seniors and individuals with disabilities. That would be me. As the designated recipient of these funds, the district conducts a selection process to determine use of the funds. A public notice of this year's Section 5310 grant solicitation was published in the Salem Reporter on April 13th, 2026. The amount of the grant funds is $407,546. Both English and Spanish versions of the notice were posted on the district websites during the entire application process, which was April 23rd, 2026 through April 13th, 2026 through May 13th of 2026. Announcements were also sent out to the current grantees of these funds to ensure that they were aware of the solicitation of the application funding. These funds are also allocated specifically for use within the urban growth boundary in our district, Salem-Keizer District. In accordance with the district selection Section 5310 Program Management Plan, the MPM, dated March 2024, the STIFIC met in a meeting open to the public to review and rank applications received by May 13th, 2026 deadline. The meeting was held on June 10th, 2026 to hear presentations from applicants, discuss and rank the projects, and make a recommendation to the District Board of Directors for funding. A primary priority of the PMP related to project selection is to ensure the project selection process was guided by the currently adopted coordinated plan, which was dated March of 2024. Secondly, there must be a coordination of projects to ensure that at least 55% of the annual appropriate is used for traditional 5310 projects as defined by the FTA circular. No applications were received from eligible nonprofit agencies. The district is eligible for funds when there are no eligible nonprofit applicants. The STIFIC recommendation for funding the Section 5310 projects. The first project is Cherriots Mobility Management Call Center. The category is traditional. Funding is $209,948. Second is Chariot Shop and Ride Purchase Service, non-traditional, at $183,396. Chariot Shop and Ride Preventative Maintenance, which is also a traditional category, for funding of $14,202 with a total of $407,546. STIFIC members have unanimously decided to equally proportion all three projects submitted to the district for funding through the FDA Section 5310 program. The STIFIC recommends that the board adopt resolution number 2026-11 approving funding for the FY26 Section 5310 projects following the committee's recommendation, and direct the general manager to submit the application for the Section 5310 grants in accordance with the recommendation.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions? Yes, Director Davidson.
Thank you, President. Chair Byers, Chief Ulazum, thank you very much. I have one question, and I think this is for the chief. So we anticipate that the cost, or excuse me, the portion of this expected award that will go to Cherriots to cover the shop and ride operations will be $183,000 and change. How much does it cost for us to operate shop and ride per year? It's in the budget.
It is in the budget. I'm going to start, and then I'm going to defer this to our Chief Operations Officer for the details. This 183,000 is just a portion of the whole operating cost, and we also use other funding source to run the whole programs, like ODOT 5310, that covers a lot of those operating expense, but this is just another funding part that we use to cover the total operating cost. But I don't know the total.
I guess I don't, oh,
Yeah,
please.
it's probably.
So in the now adopted budget for
Yeah.
fiscal year '27, the shop and ride budget's $438,832.
Okay. I guess my question is, between these federal dollars and then the state dollars, I imagine that there is still a gap that Cherriots backfills from our transportation program funds.
Could you repeat the question?
So we get this 5310, these 5310 dollars from the feds and from ODOT. Is there still a delta or a gap between our operating expenses and those revenues from those two sources?
I believe combining those two is probably, and plus local match. That-
Oh,
if
sure,
you-
local
Yeah,
match.
if you add those two, I think that'll probably pretty close to that.
Well, the answer is yes. So the revenue sources are for 5310, we're showing $229,459 for federal direct, and then through the state, an additional $51,743. We'll be using $126,931 of state STIF formula funds, and then rounding it out with $10,748 in passenger fares.
Okay. I guess I just want to note as we enter into a constrained fiscal environment potentially in the next few years, that this is something that we're using stiff dollars to backfill. I'm not recommending anything. I just want to make that point. And yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other questions or comments? No? Okay. And go ahead, Director Davidson.
I move that the board adopt resolution 2026-11 approving funding for the fiscal year 26 section 5310 projects as recommended by the statewide Transportation Improvement Fund Advisory Committee, and direct the general manager to submit the application for the section 5310 grants in accordance with the recommendation.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? I'll just say thank you both for all your work, and we really appreciate it. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. All right. Now, we'll move into our potential action following executive session ORS 192.6602A, which I believe is the employment action, right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Alan, would you like to, General Manager, sorry. Would you like to say anything on this item as we tee it up or anything? No? Okay. All right. Well, this is the action that we discussed to ensure that we have continuity of service for the organization once our General Manager abandons us. Is there anything that the board would like to say? Any members of the board? Yes, Director Davidson.
I don't consider it abandoning, though I feel abandoned.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I move that the board appoint Deputy General Manager David Trimble as interim general manager effective July 22nd, 2026, and authorize the board president to negotiate, approve, and execute a temporary salary increase for the interim appointment consistent with applicable policies and budgetary limitations. The temporary salary adjustment shall remain in effect only for the duration of the interim appointment unless otherwise authorized by the board.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? No? Okay. Well, I guess I will say, Thank you for accepting this additional, well, I don't want to say a burden because this organization is wonderful, but I know it's extra work, so thank you.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
Although, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Now, our action following executive session ORS 192.6602E, which would be our real estate transaction. General Manager, would you like to say anything on this one?
Yes, I would. I'd like to ask Senior Manager of Project and Contracts Administration, Melissa Kidd, to come forward and present a staff report.
I don't want to yell into the microphone. I can get a little bit loud. Scoot it back a little bit here. Good evening, Madam President and members of the board. The request before you is to authorize the general manager to complete the purchase of the property located at 5800 Wiltsey Road Southeast for the construction of the South Salem Transit Center
All right.
for an amount not to exceed $4,724,331. SAMTD has negotiated the purchase price for the property, which is believed to be a fair market value and a reasonable price in the current market. At its September 11th, 2025 work session, the board authorized the general manager to make binding offer for compensation of the property through Resolution 2025-12. This action will complete the transaction for property acquisition. Funding available for the purchase of this property includes federal community project funding, STIF formula, STIF discretionary, and general funds. The proposed expenditure is included in the district's fiscal year 2025-26 adopted budget and presented in the fiscal year 2026-27 approved budget in the Deputy General Manager's Capital Projects Fund. The federal grant and STIF discretionary grants have an 80-20 match. STIF formula and general funds are planned for matching funds with additional STIF formula funds to complete the funding. With that, staff recommends the board authorize the general manager to complete the purchase of the property located at 5800 Wiltsey Road Southeast for the construction of the South Salem Transit Center for an amount not to exceed $4,724,331. We would be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Wonderful. Any questions? Or comments? Director Davidson.
This is incredibly exciting. Thank you so much for everything that has come to this day. This, as many of you know in this room, this has been a very long time coming. This is now the second site that Cherriots has set its sights on. And it's very exciting that this is, that we've reached this stage. I do want to just stress the financial impact portion of the memo, that this property is being purchased without any borrowing, without any bonding. This is being purchased outright. I know some in the community have criticized us for carrying a reserve. This is why we have a reserve, so we can be good financial stewards, so that we don't have to pay interest rates for the future or saddle future generations with debt made by decisions today. Kudos to everybody who was involved in this, and in particular, I'd like to thank our federal delegation who has very much stepped up to support us in this.
Wonderful. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, would someone like to make a motion? Director Davidson?
Thank you, President. I move the board authorize the general manager to complete the purchase of the property located at 5800 Wiltsey Road Southeast for the construction of the South Salem Transit Center for an amount not to exceed $4,724,331.
I'll second. Any discussion on the motion? No? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously and very enthusiastically. Thank you. Okay. This next action item is our discussion and potential action on Board and Business Coalition Task Force. General Manager, is there anything that you would like to say on this item?
No.
No? Okay. Quiet today. All right. So just to give like a brief recap to folks, during our work session, we discussed the potential of sunsetting our Business Coalition Task Force, the collaboration that we have been in with various members of different business representatives in the Salem-Keizer area. And I think we've come to a decision to sunset this committee for the time being. Is there anything that our board members would like to say on this item? Wow. Go ahead, Director Davidson.
I'm grateful to the business community for their willingness to engage initially, and I look forward to continued partnership moving forward.
Okay. Well, I'll echo that appreciation that we were able to have a collaboration, and over some time, we unfortunately were not able to come to an agreement. The intent behind our committee and this opportunity to secure stable funding for the organization is that, to create a sustainable revenue source to allow Cherriots to enhance, improve, and expand service to meet our growing community needs. Our goal has always been to meaningfully invest in more frequent service, expanded hours, and stronger connections to employment, schools, businesses, and essential services. We know that approximately 82% of Cherriots riders rely on the system for work, shopping, and entertainment, specifically work, primarily folks that do not work traditional 9-to-5 roles Monday through Friday, which is where we see that the most need is in expanding our service on the weekends and in non-traditional hours. And I will also say that we also know that investing in transit will increase economic vitality in the Salem-Keizer region. So we are still committed to this effort, and we are just running into a lot of different deadlines and time constraints, preventing us from being able to continue in this specific manner. But this will not be the end of a conversation or a relationship with our business coalition members. And to the community, you will continue to hear updates on this work as we close out our transition for our general manager. I think that's the biggest one right now. We're also recognizing that in this time, in a difficult financial time, when a lot of people are relying on public transit to be able to access their employment and their education and any and all of their needs, we worry about the additional burden that we could put people in. But again, I just want to reaffirm that we are committed to making sure that we are creating community connections. So now it's up to us to close out this chapter. We remain committed to our collaboration with riders, businesses, community partners, our community in general, and policymakers to find sustainable solutions to support a reliable, accessible, and economically vital transit system. We understand that transit is more than just transportation service. It is an investment in what we believe our neighbors and the Salem-Keizer community are worth, and we will continue working to build a system that reflects those values. Because in the end, we all want the same thing: a connected, thriving, forward-moving capital city that reflects our shared values and shared pride in this place that we call home. So, do I need to make a formal motion to sunset our Business Coalition Task Force?
Call it Paul.
pause our Business Coalition Task Force? Do I need to make a formal motion?
So, yeah, since you established.
Okay, so I will move that we pause the current iteration of our Business Coalition Task Force.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
Opposed.
Thank you very much. Motion passes with the majority of the board. And this brings us right into our reports. General Manager?
Yes, so first off, so thank you very much. First off, in front of you as your service log hours worksheet. So please, if you haven't already, please update that and turn it in to the clerk of the board. So I have a question. Does everybody remember where they were on June 28th, 2007?
Yeah.
For some of you, I don't want to know.
It was the summer of where I was going to start 7th grade.
That's why I didn't want to know. Well, I know where I was. I was sitting right here at my very first Cherriots board meeting. And my first action item that I presented was the adoption of the fiscal year 2008 budget. Tonight, 19 years later, we have presented my 20th and final budget for adoption. So over the last 19 years, it has been my honor and pleasure to serve as Cherriots General Manager. And I'll have more to say at upcoming events, but I wanted to make a few public thank yous tonight. So to the 28 board members, past and present, yes, there's been 28 board members during my tenure. I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you for your service to Cherriots and the greater Salem-Keizer community. Your commitment to giving of yourself to advance the mission of Cherriots is commendable, and I thank you for that. To all the men and women, past and present, who worked or are working at Cherriots, thank you also for your commitment to Cherriots and serving this community. To the executive leadership team, thank you for your partnership, friendship, and trust. I couldn't have done this by myself. It takes a team effort. You know, public service is a noble profession, and we should all be proud of what we do every day and what we've accomplished. While there's more to do, we must recognize the accomplishments we've done over these last years. To our customers, thank you for riding, and thank you for placing your trust in us. You know, I counted them up, thanks to Tim Reedy. During my tenure, we've provided over 62 million rides in this community. So that is truly creating community connections. I'm extremely proud of what we've accomplished over the last 19 years. We've had some great accomplishments, we've had some struggles, but that's what makes us an excellent organization. As I wrap up my tenure over the next couple of weeks, I can retire knowing that Cherriots is in good hands because of all of you, and thank you for allowing me to serve alongside you.
Thank you.
That concludes my report.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That moves us into our Board of Directors reports, and I will start with Director Davidson.
Thank you, President. Just wanted to, I don't think I have a report on, you know what, no I do. The Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments met, they adopted a budget. We are on very good financial footing compared to certainly where we were a year ago. We are on the up and up. There have, because of some position vacancies, specifically their executive director and chief financial officer, there's been, their reserve has been building, which has been something that has not been true for quite some time. Some systemic changes that we've made over the past few years are bringing us towards full cost recovery in our core businesses, which is fantastic. And then the Council of Governments is undertaking a full organizational analysis. So it's going to be an opportunity for the COG to consider what a Council of Government for the Mid-Willamette Valley should be. Are there parts of its business that it should shed? Are there parts that it should take on? In an extreme example, there could be a world where the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments is just the Metropolitan Planning Organization. I suspect that's unlikely to happen, but that's the kind of decisions that the board will be undertaking. Their executive committee is currently leading that effort, and I look forward to learning more, and I'll update you all as I know more. We'll be having, we'll be recognizing Alan at the next board meeting? Okay, good. Then I'll save my comments for then. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Director Carney?
Thank you, President Hinojosa-Pressey. I too will save my comments for Alan. And I will report instead on the SCATS Policy Committee meeting, which took place earlier this week on June 23rd. There was an agenda item. I chaired the meeting in the absence of our chair, Chair Mordhorst. And at his request, we postponed item E, which was the member match funds for the planning funds conversation. There were a few amendments to the minutes because the city of Kaiser wanted to clarify just what they were in support of, and they didn't think the minutes reflected that very well. We did end up postponing the item, though Marion County was opposed to its postponement. And then we had a great presentation by ODOT staff on the Transportation Safety Action Plan for the state of Oregon. This is a public review draft until July 31st. It's open for comments online. There will be a public hearing on July 8th. It's taking a holistic, I forget the exact term of phrase about the safety framework that they're using. But for the first time, the safety action plan will include land use measures and talk about how urban design and placing people close to goods and services and employment opportunities can reduce some of our fatalities and serious injuries, which here in the state of Oregon, we very much need to do because we have seen between the years 2020 and 2023, which is what the graph that they were able to share showed, we've increased 116% in serious injuries. We're up in the neighborhood of, in 2023, there was 3,710 serious injuries and about 600 fatalities on our roadways. So it is a pretty serious problem that we are seeing in the state. So we had some good conversations about the different approaches being recommended by ODOT, but I encourage you all to please get in the plan and leave some comments, be they general or specific. One thing that I asked a question about, and I don't know that I am completely resolved in the answer, and Director Duncan, I know that you and I have had conversations about this, is it's a data-driven plan, and the data they are looking at is the Oregon crash data. And the Oregon crash data undercounts bicycle interactions, it undercounts, when there is something that is categorized as a minor injury that may evolve into something that is life-threatening or life-changing, that's undercounted. And so there's a lot of different sort of disclaimers on ODOT's website about how they can't accurately reflect anything but automobile interactions that are reported to the police. And that's what this data is. So it's an incomplete data set. I think that we should sort of overemphasize our approach to safety, especially in regard to vulnerable users in our state plan and both locally. So please get in there and leave your comments. And then we really started to drop off in attendance and lost our quorum. So we couldn't get to a group decision or recommendation to SCAT staff on whether or not we should write a letter of support for this Federal Surface Transportation Reauthorization Basics Act. And I'm not going to try to articulate the differences between the Basics Act and the alternatives, but OMPOC, Central Lane, and Metro have submitted letters of support. I would be in favor of our policy committee submitting a letter of support, but that will be taken up next month in discussion, as will, I believe, the matching funds, the member matching funds for the planning funds. In our July meeting. And Cameo, Kathy Clark, Mayor Clark, was subbing in for Counselor Jurin at the meeting, and it was nice to see her and hear her voice. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Director Holmstrom.
I do not have a report this month. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Navarro.
Thank you, President Hinojosa Pressy. I'll keep it brief since we've already talked a little bit about the STIF funding recommendation that when we met earlier this month. So I'll keep it specific to Kaiser. Kaiser will be having a celebration July 7th at 3:30 at the library that is now an official library. Yay! I know, isn't that awesome? So Kaiser will no longer be the largest city in the state of Oregon without a publicly funded library. So the city council agreed to allocate dedicated funding to the library, which was it was preventing us from being a recognized public library. And now that they have that consistent funding, they can apply, or they've applied and are currently a public library, but they'll also be applying to be part of the Chemeketa Consortium of libraries, which means that you can order books from different libraries in Salem and have them arrive in Kaiser, which is really nice. I'm really excited about that. And then lastly, Fun Fridays will be happening in Kaiser. So every year I get together with a bunch of other family councils that exist in Kaiser, and we fund something called Fun Fridays. And that's where we just get a bunch of community service providers to the location. They get to set up booths. We have about 100 this year, a little over 100. And Cherriots shows up every year, so I'm always glad for that. And we provide food, we have raffles. It's just a really good time for families to kind of enjoy the summer and get access to a bunch of resources that we bring to their community. So that will be happening at St. Edward's Catholic Church on July 24th. And I don't have the time on me, but I think it's, yikes, I should probably come back with that. I believe it's going to be around noon because we're going to be serving lunch. So. And that concludes my report.
I have a question.
Yes.
For the Kaiser Public Library, can anyone go get a library card?
I believe now that they're applying to be part of the consortium, and as that, you can apply, anybody can apply, as long as you live in the areas that the consortium is part of.
I'm gonna go get a Kaiser Public Library card.
There you go. You can right now, but you have to live in Kaiser, and there's a fee to it. But.
Director Duncan?
Thank you. So I'm going to start with the DEI subcommittee, please. So we discussed the Wrapped in Community initiative. I hope that you all participated with our request for your input on the new wraps. We talked quite a bit about preview of the different options. We, talked a bit about accessibility and inclusion in the process, and just overall being very excited to include some more community input. So I can't wait to see how that goes. We also discussed how we need a formal charter. We'll be moving forward with that in upcoming meetings. And also, we did get a specific request about, a specific bus stop, and we would like to have a formal process for people to submit those requests, so we're going to kind of discuss how that might work. The request we did receive might run into some issues with the laws of physics, but we are doing what we can. We're discussing with staff, but we'll be in touch. I don't know if we can make it working for you. If you have tried to contact me and I haven't gotten back to you, I have been having some significant technological difficulties. So if you'd like to reach me as a board member, please reach out to Cherriots as a whole for the moment, because I am not receiving my emails. So please don't take any of that personally, because it is definitely not you. It's me. Next piece for MWAC. We discussed a lot of things, including what Director Carney, I think we got the same presentation from ODOT probably. So you've already covered that quite well, thank you very much. I want to discuss a bit about what Marion County discussed about the success of their safety corridor program. Very excited to see any success and decrease of fatalities. I do want to hammer a point that I'm a data nerd. I think Sadie kind of already alluded to that earlier. Part of the reason this program was deemed successful were some of the different tools that are at your disposal for a safety corridor, two of which being the ability to double fines and then also being able to increase like police presence in the area. And those were cited as reasons why there was a decrease in accidents and fatalities. I want to push back on the way that we look at data a little bit. Upon further investigation on why those two particular methodologies are successful, it's reported on that it's actually the intimidation factor. So people understanding that they may get pulled over, people understanding they may be charged double. It's not the police presence, it's not the actual doubling of the fines, it's the threat. And so as a communications person, and you've heard me come up here and talk about communication so many times, I want to bring that back to what it really comes down to is the communication to the community. And I want to really emphasize that when we are looking at data, particularly the data that we have that is limited, that we're really thinking about why we're getting the outcomes we're getting. Increasing police presence is incredibly expensive. A communications campaign is significantly less so. Doubling fines in an area in a community where we already have one of the fastest growing poverty rates in the state, that's rough, especially because if you are high income, you're paying the same when the ticket is doubled than somebody who's low income that's pulled over. That's not a very equitable system. So I just want to caution us as we're looking at the tools that are available to us. We want to absolutely get good results, but we should understand why those results are coming to us in a good way. So anyway, that's just me being a data nerd for a second. And I just want to end this on a happy frickin' Pride Month to everybody who celebrates. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. On my end, I will definitely say more, but since this is pretty much your last board meeting, the last one, I just want to close with a thank you very much for all of your service. This is an amazing organization. I know that we've had the pleasure of serving as board of directors, but I don't think it would have been half as easy had it not been all the work that you have undertaken all these years to make sure that this is an organization that is truly providing world-class customer service.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. And as a quick aside to our community, it's hot out there. And I don't know if you all know this, but Oregon does have the strongest heat and smoke protections in the entire country. It might all be because of my employer. So as a reminder to everyone, at 80 degrees, your employer is required to provide you with training about excessive heat, cool, potable water, access to shade. At 90 degrees, your employer is required to provide you with additional paid breaks, effective emergency communication, observation of workers or a buddy system, an emergency medical plan, and a acclimatization plan. So please remember, if you are out there working in the heat, stay hydrated, and your employer is responsible for making sure that you are safe. It is now 6:53, and we are adjourned.